resolution this year. Most of us commit to, better health. Life is a series of decisions. Some are really big, like choosing the career or choosing your spouse. Others seem small, like what you're going to eat for breakfast or lunch or maybe dinner, or how you're going to spend a few extra minutes in your day. Yet every decision, whether it's big or small, shapes who you are and who you are becoming. You'll find that Jesus spent most of the time here on earth doing two things: teaching and healing. In Matthew 9:35, then Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, healing every sickness and every disease among the people. So Jesus couldn't stand aside knowing that some of the people were really suffering from ailments in their lives. So he opened the blind eyes, he healed the crippled legs, he cured leprosy. In fact, he even touched a leper, a man who hadn't felt the warm touch of a human in years. And when Jesus came to town, sometimes even the dead came back to life. Now in John chapter 10, verse 10, it says, "The thief does not come except to steal and to kill and to destroy. I have come that they may have life and they may have it more abundantly." Beloved, I pray that you would prosper in all things and be in health. So let me ask you a biblical question. How many of each animal did Noah take on the ark? And when we look at Genesis chapter 7, verse 2, "You shall take of you 7 of each of the clean animals, a male and female, 2 of each animal that are unclean, a male and his female." When you begin to look at the ark and some of the things that you've been told, that were not good information. They call it nowadays false information. Today, medical science is discovering that the Bible was absolutely right, though. The people who avoid unclean foods are living much longer than the rest of us. So of course we need to know what is clean and unclean. We need to know how to tell the difference. Ezekiel chapter 22 verse 26 says, "Her priests have violated my laws and have profaned my holy things. They have put no difference between the holy and the profane, neither have they showed difference between the unclean and the clean, and have hid their eyes from the Sabbath, and I am profaned among them." I want you to listen very carefully to the promise God gave to the children of Israel back in the book of Exodus. He says, "If you diligently heed the voice of the Lord your God and do all right in his sight, give ear to his commandments and keep all his statutes, I will put none of the diseases on you which I have brought to the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you." In Exodus 23:25, "So you shall serve the Lord your God, and you will bless your bread and your water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of you." So according to the Bible, there's no question that you can improve your well-being when you're committed to a relationship with God. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that Christians are never going to get sick or that Christians don't die, but you can significantly change what you're doing and how long you live by following the Bible. So Jesus paid a price. He bought you for a price. He wants you to have life more abundantly, and it's possible through Jesus, even today. I've always struggled with my New Year's resolutions, especially the ones that are about a diet. Now, there are many quick diets out there. Well, you can get skinny quick. But which one will really give you a better life, increase your years of life in this world? We are always looking for better health, right? So steps to better health, a vibrant, loving, obedient relationship with God, they all go together. You get what you put in. So in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 19, it says, "Or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and you are not your own?" So if you're a Christian, if you're a child of God, then your body is it's on loan to you. In 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 20, it says, "For you were bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body." They say that something is only worth what people are willing to pay. And that's amazing. It's amazing that God values us that highly. But how often do we actually treat our bodies like God owns them instead of us? Day in and day out, most of us trash our bodies. We get by with not enough sleep, way too much stress, and then we got coffee and donuts for breakfast, supper through a little window in a drive-through, and then we're shocked when our bodies break down. I'm reminded of an old story, a man who wanted to visit a famous monastery in Portugal, one that went up on top of the mountain from a 300-foot cliff. And the only way to get up there was in a basket on a rope. And, he climbs into the basket and the monks haul you up to the top. Then this man gets into the basket and had a wonderful day at the top of the cliff. But at the end of the day, when it was time to leave, he climbs back into the basket and he glances up at the rope. It was an old frayed rope, and it looked like it might break at any moment. So as the monks get started to lower him over the edge of the cliff, he asks them a question. Just how often do you replace this rope? And they say, well, anytime the old one breaks, we replace it. That's kind of the way we treat our own bodies. We never really pay attention until something breaks. But the Bible advises us to pay better attention to our bodies because they're God's. So in 1 Corinthians 6:20, it says, for you are bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body. And that's the whole secret. Jesus has bought us freedom to make our own choices. So how we decide to care for our bodies is really, it's up to us. But Jesus wants you to be successful. So God has given us an owner's manual. Jesus is there to help us as we make the right decisions for better health. And today, Jesus Christ is waiting there for you. He is waiting to bless you for all eternity.